The desert had always been a place of movement. Wind sculpted the dunes. Heat carved mirages into the horizon. Sand drifted like a restless tide, reshaping the world each dawn. But not this season. This season, the sand refused to drift. The dunes stood frozen, their crests sharp as broken glass. Even the gentlest breeze failed to move a single grain. The desert, once alive with shifting waves of gold, now resembled a vast cemetery of unmoving stone. A lone dromedary camel named Sarif climbed the tallest dune at dawn. His long legs carried him with slow, deliberate strength, hooves sinking deeper than they should have into sand that felt both soft and unnaturally compact at once. His thick coat shimmered with early light. His nostrils flared, testing the air for moisture or danger. He found neither. Sarif paused near the crest and scanned the horizon with large, patient eyes. No drifting sand, no rising gusts, no sound beyond his own steady breathing. Something was deeply wrong. Camels understood the desert better than any human traveller. They felt its mood through vibrations beneath their feet and subtle fluctuations in heat. Sarif sensed the dunes were sick, holding their breath, refusing to move as if afraid of collapsing under their own stillness. From behind him came slow footsteps and soft human murmurs. A small caravan approached. 3 camels, 2 traders, and a young boy. Their robes flapped weakly, barely touched by wind. Still no drift, the older trader muttered, squinting at the unmoving horizon. 3 days like this? Never seen anything like it. The boy, only 10, shielded his eyes. Does it mean a storm is coming? Storms move sand, the man replied. This is something else. Sarif looked back at them briefly. These were not his masters. They belonged to the caravan, but Sarif was the lead camel, the one chosen by instinct, by strength, by quiet presence to walk ahead and test the land first, and the land was failing. As the caravan descended the far side of the dune, Sarif felt another strange sensation. The sand, normally loose and flowing, felt compacted beneath the surface, like a thin crust covering a deeper emptiness. He stepped carefully. At the base of the dune lay a cluster of dry shrubs that should have been buried by moving sand weeks ago. Instead, they stood exposed, brittle, their roots bare. Even insects avoided them. The traders stopped to inspect the plants. "Groundwater's dropping faster than expected," one said. "We'll have to change route." Sarif lowered his head to sniff at the shrubs. They smelled dead long before dying. Whatever fed them had vanished. The caravan moved on. Hours passed. The sun climbed mercilessly overhead, but even the heat behaved strangely. It did not shimmer off the sand in waves like usual. It rose in straight, stiff lines. Sarif's skin twitched as he sensed the imbalance. Then he smelled something new. Not desert scent, not dryness, not salt, not heat. Something metallic, something chemical, something human. Sarif angled his head toward the east. There, on a barren plateau where dunes had flattened unnaturally, stood a line of machinery, drilling rigs, pipes, and trucks. A fenced structure rose beside them, guarded by men in helmets. The machines groaned and hammered into the earth in rhythmic violence. The younger trader cursed softly. "They're still pumping?" The older man nodded grimly. "Deep sand extraction. 2 months now. But they said the aquifers wouldn't be harmed," the boy whispered. "They lied." Sarif's legs stiffened. He understood none of their words, but he felt the meaning through vibration, tone, heartbeat. Humans were disturbing the desert's bones, pulling something from beneath the dunes that should have stayed buried. A sudden rumble rolled through the sand. Sarif froze. The caravan froze with him. The dunes trembled. Not enough to collapse, but enough to whisper their warning. Then the ground under Sarif's hooves sank for a moment, as if inhaling. He stepped back sharply. The traders exchanged alarmed looks. "That's happening too often," one said. "The sand pockets are collapsing." If they drained the deep layers too quickly, the other replied, the dunes lose structure. They won't drift because there's nothing left beneath to carry them. The boy looked frightened. What happens then? The man swallowed. The desert caves in. Sarif gazed toward the machines. He felt the steady, unnatural thumping carried through the earth like a heartbeat that did not belong. The dunes responded with pain, stiffening, refusing to move, holding their breath in fear of collapse. As the caravan turned away from the drilling site, Sarif noticed movement in the distance, a lone fennec fox staggering across the dune line. Its fur was matted, its gait uneven. It reached a patch of sand and began digging desperately, searching for a cool layer beneath, but it found only hot, compacted dryness. The fox collapsed. Sarif approached slowly, lowering his head. The fox breathed rapidly, eyes half closed. The traders watched sadly. No insects, no burrows, no drifting, one murmured. Everything's dying. Sarif gently nudged the fox with his muzzle. The small creature blinked weakly. There was nothing he could do, but he stayed beside it for a moment, sharing shade with his body. Eventually the fox rose shakily and limped away, not healed, just stubborn. Camels understood stubbornness. Sarif marched on. As the sun sank into the west, the caravan reached a region of cracked earth, long fissures carving strange patterns into the desert floor. Sarif stepped over one, feeling heat rise from the opening, heat that should have been trapped deep below. The dunes were bleeding warmth upward. The boy pointed at the largest fissure. Is that smoke? The men approached slowly. Not smoke, not heat haze, not dust. Steam. Hot groundwater rising through new cracks, forced upward by pressure imbalances created by the drilling. The water hissed and vanished before reaching the surface, turning instantly into vapor. Sarif recoiled. His instincts screamed, not safe, not stable, not natural. A deep rumble passed beneath them, longer this time, rolling like thunder trapped underground. The older trader shouted, "Away from the fissures! Move, move, move!" Sarif broke into a heavy trot, guiding the other camels around the unstable region. The sand ahead formed strange patterns, swirling patches as if frozen mid-drift, dunes held in unnatural bends. Then the desert exhaled. A long sigh of shifting plates far below. The sand beneath Sarif's front foot suddenly collapsed downward. His leg fell into a hole up to the knee, and he roared in pain and fear. The caravan scrambled to help, yelling, pulling ropes, urging him upright. Sarif thrashed once, but the hole widened. The dunes were swallowing him. The boy cried out, "Sarif!" The camel kicked with all his strength, once, twice, and with a desperate heave, he freed his leg from the collapsing pocket. The traders dragged him back. Sand poured into the new cavity like water. The hole sealed itself, leaving no trace of its existence. The desert was erasing itself. Sarif trembled. Not from pain, camels endured far worse, but from instinct older than dunes. The land below was dying. The caravan rested only briefly. No one trusted the stillness now. They moved until night thickened around them and the cold wind finally rose, the kind of wind that should have sent sand drifting in beautiful waves. But nothing moved. The dunes stayed stiff, silent, lifeless. Sarif climbed the final dune of the night and looked back at the drilling rigs. Their lights blinked like false stars, their engines pounding deeper into desert heart. Humans were taking something. The desert was losing something. And tomorrow, the dunes would answer, in stillness or in collapse. Sarif lowered his head, breathing the freezing air. He would walk again at dawn. But each step now carried a warning. When sand refuses to drift, it prepares to fall. Night in the desert was supposed to be a gift, a soft, blessed relief after the brutality of the sun. The dunes usually whispered as cool winds brushed over them, and sand slid down slopes in quiet cascades like sighs of a sleeping world. But tonight, the dunes did not whisper. They stood locked in place, hard-edged and still, like a landscape carved in stone. No rustle, no drift, no shifting underfoot. Sarif sensed the stiffness beneath his feet even in darkness. Every step produced an unnatural crunch, not soft sand, but crusted layers of compacted grains. He lifted his hooves carefully, placing each foot with the same precision he used when crossing rocky wadis. His instincts told him the desert no longer behaved like sand, and an animal who ignored instinct did not live long. Behind him, the caravan moved slower than usual. The traders walked beside their camels, whispering among themselves. "Temperature's dropping too fast," the older trader muttered. "Feels wrong." "Feels hollow," the younger replied, "like the heat's escaping into the ground." The boy wrapped his scarf around his neck. "Does that mean the dunes are empty?" No one answered. Silence itself felt like an omen. In the far eastern horizon, the drilling site glowed with artificial lights, stark white beams stabbing the darkness. Machines still thumped, banging metallic fists into the earth's veins. Sarif winced every time the vibration reached him through the sand. The desert did not want to move, but it did not want to bear this pain either. The caravan stopped near an eroded outcrop of black basalt, a rare hardstone formation used by travelers for shelter. Here they decided to rest. They tied the camels to stakes hammered into the firmest patches of sand they could find. Sarif knelt with a heavy exhale, folding his legs beneath him. The boy sat beside him, stroking his coarse fur. "Good boy, you saved yourself today." Sarif blinked slowly. Camels didn't understand praise the way dogs did, but they understood warmth, tone, touch. The boy's voice calmed him. Above them, the sky glittered with stars. Too sharp, too cold, like needles thrown across black silk. The younger trader scanned the darkness uneasily. "It's too quiet, even beetles aren't moving." The older trader nodded. "Animals know before we do. That fox earlier, it was digging for an escape. Means something's coming." "Windstorm?" the boy asked. "No," the man said. "Something bigger." Sarif lifted his head suddenly. He heard it too. A deep rumble far beneath the dunes. Not thunder, not machinery. Something older. A shifting plate. An underground cavity collapsing. A hollow space being born. Or dying. The men fell silent. The rumble continued for 6 long seconds, travelling through the earth like the groan of an ancient creature awakening from suffocation. When it finally faded, the desert grew even more still. Sarif remained rigid, neck raised, nostrils flaring. He caught another scent, faint, distant. Smoke, but not from human fires, from burning sand. Impossible, unless extreme pressure release had melted silica deep below. The traders exchanged worried glances. "We have to move at first light," the older man said. "Northwest, away from the rigs." "Too dangerous at night." "It's more dangerous to stay." The boy clutched Sarif's rope. "He'll guide us." The older trader nodded. "Yes, he will." But Sarif was not looking northwest. He turned southeast toward a dune line that shimmered strangely under starlight. The sand there seemed to breathe. It rose very slightly, fell very slightly, rose again, like a sleeping chest unable to breathe properly. Sarif stood abruptly. The men jumped to their feet. "What is it? Predators?" "No," the older trader whispered. "He senses movement under us." The youngest camel in the caravan groaned uneasily. The other two shifted their weight. Even the stakes in the sand creaked as if being pulled from below. Then a gust of wind rushed across the dune field. A heavy, cold gust, and the dunes did not move, but something beneath them did. The crust of hardened sand cracked, a thin, splintering sound. The boy gasped, the traders froze. Sarif bellowed, a deep, guttural, urgent sound, and lunged forward, snapping his rope from its stake. The stake flew sideways as if kicked by the earth itself. The ground dropped beneath it. A bowl-shaped depression formed where the stake had been, sand cascading into it like water draining into a sink. The edge widened. "Untie the camels," the older trader shouted. The younger man rushed to cut ropes. 2 camels bolted immediately. Serif ran to the last one, nudging it violently until its knot tore loose. The camel stumbled backward, just as the depression deepened, swallowing half the basalt outcrop. The desert began collapsing, not everywhere at once, not in a dramatic landslide, slowly, quietly, like a beast exhaling after holding its breath too long. A line of sand behind the caravan dropped an inch, then 2, then a foot. Cracks spread in spiderweb patterns. "Move," the older trader commanded. But where? The dunes were all sick, all unstable. Sarif made the decision for them. He ran northwest, climbing the stiff dunes with desperate force. His hooves broke through the crust and into softer layers below, but he kept running. The boy clung to his rope, sprinting alongside as best he could. The traders followed, urging the camels forward. Behind them, the depression widened, swallowing shrubs, sand, and a sleeping lizard still trapped in its burrow. The dunes sagged as the underground cavity expanded. "Sarif!" the boy cried. "Where are you taking us?" But the question answered itself when Sarif stopped abruptly at a ridge. Below lay an ancient dry riverbed, a hard, flat surface where sand was too shallow to collapse, a ribbon of safety in a dying sea. "Down there!" the older trader yelled. They scrambled down the ridge. Sarif led the way, sliding but steady, lowering his weight carefully. The camel behind him slipped and tumbled halfway, bleating, but reached the bottom. The boy collapsed into the riverbed, gasping. Above them, the dunes continued to shift. A long crack tore through the crest like lightning frozen in sand. A plume of dust shot upward, silent but terrifying. Then all movement stopped. The desert froze again, held its breath again. But this time, the silence wasn't refusal. It was recovery, or warning of what came next. Sarif looked toward the drilling site. One rig toppled sideways as the ground beneath it caved, metal crumpling like paper. Workers ran in chaotic silhouettes, shouting, waving their arms. The older trader whispered, voice hollow, "The desert is taking itself back." The boy looked up at Sarif. "You saved us." Sarif didn't move. He simply stared at the dunes, listening. The sand wasn't done. Tomorrow, when the sun rose, new dangers would awaken. New collapses. New breaths of a dying desert trying to live again. Sarif would walk again at dawn. He would test the dunes. He would lead. But for now, in the stillness of the broken night, the desert held its silence. And Sarif listened to the trembling world beneath his feet.